Hello and welcome back to Dev Game Club, a weekly podcast in which two veteran game developers look at games from the past to discuss their relevance and impact today. I'm Brett Duville, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, a man whose name everyone's gonna know in 3 days.
Tim Longo.
Everyone's gonna know your name, man.
Which 3 days?
It's a good question. There might be a decade off, who knows? But everyone's gonna know in 3 days. Yeah, it actually, I think that quote actually comes from the evolving intro, which maybe we'll just jump right into.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, you've been seeing it more than once, or
many times. Yeah. So we are, of course, talking about Dead Rising, and from which year I've already forgotten. So if it comes back to mind for you,
2006.
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
3. Yeah, something like that.
So my strategy so far has been to replay the game from the beginning whenever I die, and I'm not immune to death. I fairly often die in the game, and I just replay from the beginning because I don't want to lose the level ups that I've gotten in the meantime. Because early on, there's a couple people who you can basically rescue for free. So I always get their, tens of thousands of points when they join the party. When they reunite, you can take a high value picture and then you save them, and so you get the escort bonus or whatever. So it ends up adding up to quite a lot. And so it's like if you're playing the beginning of the game again and again, you're just always getting a big bump in prestige points.
So what you're saying is you're grinding.
I am grinding, but I'm not doing it to grind. Like, I'm not going out there and dying so I can do that. Which it would be another way to do it. It would be like literally run out and die as fast as you can, just so you can keep getting 40,000 easy prestige points or whatever. I'm not doing that. You could do that. I'm actually just like literally trying to advance the story and just get further every day.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like the guy who paints the road. And he does like 32 miles the first day, and the guys who hire him to paint the center line of the road are like, man, this guy's amazing. And then the next day he does 16 miles. They're like, well, that's still pretty good. I mean, it's nothing like yesterday, but it was his first day. And then 8 miles, and they're like, hey, he's really slowing down here. 4 miles. And they're finally like, when we hired you, you were 32 miles and 16 miles a day. And it was like incredible. And, now you're down to only doing a mile a day, and what's going on? He's like, well, the first day, I didn't have to run as far back to get to the can.
Oh my God, I did not know where this was going. Wow. Did you have that prepared? Like, where does that joke even come from?
Well, I mean, I've known that joke for a long time.
But
it came to mind because that's what's happening to me. Because every day I'm going a little bit further, which is actually the opposite of the joke. But every day I am going a little bit further, but I am then resetting and having to do it all again.
Yeah.
And so it's the reverse of the joke, but it still does feel like to get progress takes longer every time. Because I'm doing it.
So something just dawned on me that the audience is going to yell at me for, but. Because obviously I already mentioned Dark Souls, and we talk about that structure and the concept of expanding your sort of awareness of the game, of whatever the game is, over time, and knowledge is power, all that kind of stuff. But because this is Inafune, and I'm thinking about MegaMan,
mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking about what you're saying. Structurally, it's not exactly the same, but this concept of like mastering a level, and by playing it and memorizing it and playing it over and over again, like Kaon and others have done, and we did not necessarily do. There's some spirit. The spirit is in there for this sort of same concept, that it's just such 2006. Like, what would have been a roguelike game that would have because roguelikes have become such a thing since then. But I feel like when this game came out, it wasn't as big. It could be wrong, but it was a big deal when they did the Castlevania Xbox Live Arcade port, so it was like very rare. and this structure is so roguelike, it's like, I don't know, it's just such a funny, maybe that's why it's intrigued me as a game for so long, because of when it came out and how, I mean, obviously I don't think we can directly connect the dots that this game has influenced roguelike since it came out, because it's not really one and it doesn't boast to be one.
Right.
And nobody would identify it as one, but it's like, I don't know, it's just such a funny thing. And again, like we said last time, it's a very, very divisive concept, because, some people like replaying content and some people do not like replaying content,
right?
Which is, I think, one of the,
well, I normally don't.
Dark Souls. Yeah. So talk about that. Why,
well, it's because,
and I was joking about the grinding, because you tend to grind, and
I do.
That's not a judgment.
Yeah, no, I'm totally not this time. It is really funny because, and I wouldn't, even if I were grinding, I would be like proudly grinding. It's more that I get to that decision point of like, do you want to throw away all you've gained? Which is usually a level, maybe 2 levels, and I'm like, no, I don't.
Well, but are you not using the save points?
I have not been using the save points.
Okay. Well, I mean, you have 2 options, right?
And it did take me a while, like, to even, because I misunderstood. I mean, I don't know why I misunderstood. I thought I had to go into a tunnel for all the save points, and the tunnels are locked.
Oh yeah. They're either locked
because you go into the tunnel for the warehouse.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the map and like seeing the little person icon, which I guess is the tunnel, and being like, all right, well, I try to go there to save, and I would go there and I'd be surrounded by zombies and I wouldn't be able to save, and I'd be like, uh-oh. But it turns out there's actually a separate one that's literally just an S.
Yeah.
But
and they're not
one of them was in a store. The one that I looked at that was closest was in a store. I was like, oh, that can't be it. That must be something else. I'll do that after I save. And that was it was the gym. That was the workout gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had gone away from the workout gym and was looking at the map. I was like, oh man, I was just in the gym. I wonder what I missed there. There's this icon on the map. And
it's
not,
so
that's why.
That one in particular is not very, it blends in quite well.
Yeah. A lot of the ones door, in the mall, it looks just like a, it just looks like a design on the wall. It did not read as a door to me. I was in that room for a long time as well, because that whole area was very.
That's where you got all your dumbbells.
It was heavy with zombies, and I got my dumbbells, and then I was like going and standing there at a door and punching them in the head as I would open the door and let 2 in and kill them, and then I eventually thinned out the horde enough out there that I could deal with.
The joy of killing zombies in this game.
It is pretty good.
Unprecedented for its time.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. Because I also had a broom at one point, same room, and the broom head broke off after a couple of zombies. But then I had basically a spike that he'd use like a
skewer,
like a skewer, like a lance or something. Like you'd sort of run and dash it and jab it in, and it's just,
they did a good job with the
variety is amazing.
Not just having everything be a swinging bat, that they actually thought about. I
mean, because I tend to go for those things because I can. If you know how to use a bat, now you know how to use a 2x4, and you know how to use an iron pipe or whatever.
There's an arc too.
You know how long the distance is or whatever. But at one point I was in the jewelry store trying to figure out that woman and rescue her, which I'll get back to when we talk about quests. And I was like, what can you use as a weapon in the jewelry cabinets? So I smashed them. And it's like, you can take the gems, and the gems, you can just basically throw it in the eyes of the zombies so that they kind of stuns them for a moment. So you can basically throw them in their face and get away. So it's like,
I never tried that.
There's even different strategies you might use for different things. You might carry around a stack of gems because, you could do that. Like the hockey stick, you can basically smack pucks in their faces. I don't know where the pucks are coming from, but you're basically, it's wild. Anyway, back to the evolving intro. It's been an involving intro so far to the podcast. So I've seen the beginning of the game many, many times. And in the beginning of the game, for those who haven't played it, you're flying in a helicopter. We might have described it a little last week as this photojournalist. And he wants the helicopter pilot to go over the town. And, the first time you go in, you see, some stray random zombies just kind of walking in the streets. And then you see a guy on a car, surrounded. He's on the top of his car or some car and trying to fend them off. And ultimately he gets pulled down, from the car. And then you go, and the last stop is basically you pass over a bus, which you kind of pause for. And then the last stop is a gas station, which explodes. And then he flies basically straight to the mall. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And you actually, it's that way for several starts of the game. And then around the fourth or the fifth start of the game, after the gas station, he's like, I got to take it up in the air. Like, okay, I'm going to go to the mall again. And he moves a little bit. And then Frank says, wait, bring it down. I want to see what's happening on that roof. And so you see another scene now, a new scene where there's a woman on a roof with zombies. She's got a gun. She's trying to shoot them in the head, but her aim's not great. It's a handgun. What are you going to do? And ultimately, like, she runs out of bullets. She throws the gun, and then one comes and gets her and like goes off the roof with her.
I remember that scene. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it this time, but that's ringing a bell.
Yeah. Okay. And then you go to the mall, and that's for another like 4 or 5 starts. And then the next time it advances and there's more, you're actually up in the air after all of that, but between that and going to the mall, there's a scene where you're up in the air and the helicopter you're in is suddenly got 3 military choppers on its tail. And he's kind of like diving and evading, and like, it's a very, I don't know, Blue Thunder kind of moment or something. I mean, I hope he doesn't ever try to do an inversion, because you really can't do that. I know they do that in that show, like once a show every time, but it's not really physically possible.
Blue Thunder can do it.
Blue Thunder. Yeah, sure. Blue Thunder can, just ignore the laws of physics. Anyway, so he ends up doing that. And then you have a long conversation with Carlito when you land. You actually don't land that time. You jump out of the chopper.
It's a different conversation with Carlito.
It might be I don't remember the conversation with Carlito from the beginning. There's a conversation with Carlito, I'll say. Maybe it wasn't new. Maybe I just got in the habit of skipping it and don't remember, because I do that. Anyway, and then you go back into the game. So I really was impressed that it makes sense, right? That, and it does, if they're leaning into this, like, and people are gonna restart the game. There's gonna be the freaks like me who are like, yep, I'll just start it again and again and again. And
gives you something new to watch.
They're giving me something new, because otherwise I'm just getting the same camera shots. And now it's kind of a risk of like, well, do I want to hold some, because you only have like 30 shots or something in the camera. Do I want to hold some back in case there's something new? Because you have to recharge the camera inside the mall. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. That they did that.
Well, I mean, like you said, it supports the structure of the game too, where they were choosing to create this kind of flow for the player, and so they're gonna, change the way that they make decisions for other things like cinematics as well, which is just, you can see that decision being made, but it's not something that would have come sort of naturally. Because it'd be typically, it's like, well, they probably made the whole thing and then just cut it up, but
and it's all in engine, so it's probably not terrible to deal with, right? The clips,
much more flexible.
The clips are way more flexible to flow together. Like if you just want to extend the flight of the helicopter at one point, that's easy enough to do. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's all still extremely scripted or whatever. Not just running AI or anything like that. But that is still way easier to script. Like fly helicopter to this position. Oh no, I needed to go 200 more meters. It's like easy. So as opposed to like having to reanimate and re-export that from Maya or 3D Studio Max or whatever they would have been using. So,
well, you mentioned with the cosmetics too, which was also a big deal in this game because it, before memes were a thing, before even cosmetics were much of a thing, it was one of the talking points. And the fact that that everything in this game is in engine, and it supports that, but also just the concept that you're gonna show up as you are.
I did finally find a black baseball cap that I could wear instead of the horse head that I was jumping out of the helicopter with.
Oh, so you have it in the beginning as well?
Yeah, that's just his suit.
That's just you just keep whatever you have.
Just keep whatever you had, at any.
Yeah, that's awesome
for everything. It's hilarious. I mean, there I was in my tight USA shirt top with the tight shorts and this horse's head.
It's great.
So ridiculous.
I'm trying to find. I can't remember where MegaMan is, but I'm trying to find. I think you can get MegaMan costume.
Well, that's going to come up because it's in an email this week. So.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, for a while I had a Lego head on. I was just running around with that.
Oh, that's cool.
Giant, not official Lego, but similarly
shaped.
Yeah. Accidentally shaved my head one time too, and it was like, oh no, I can't get my hair back now. And that's the funny thing is you can't reset your hair once you shave it off.
Well, I mean, it's just the same as. I mean, it's just another head, right? So it's
the
same with the horse head, right? I mean, it's
So that's like, well, I better restart the game because I want my hair back. Yeah, so it's funny reason to do it, but yeah, it's just such a weird game. It's like we obviously don't know what their goals were, but it feels like one of their goals was really bucking the trends of what you would normally do with a zombie game. Obviously the semi-open worldy kind ofness of it, which is again level loads, but the freedom of, for instance, when those convicts are in the center area, if you didn't want, there's a new decision you need to make of, am I going to go through there and deal with them? But I also have the choice to kind of go around and just use the loop of the mall. And then there's risks obviously for doing that too. So it's just,
yeah, I have a question about that. Can you actually do that? Because I found that I'm walled off from certain areas.
You might not be able to do the full loop. I haven't tried the full loop early on yet. And yes, I don't know how much you've fooled around or, searched around in the UI, but they have sort of the key items page and it tells you all the keys you will get. And each key basically is that's another part of the structure, is very, very similar structure to roguelikes and Metroidvanias is, you're going to get some sort of key that in this game literally is for doors that are where all the exits are, right?
Yeah.
So that
they don't have a lot of keys that aren't keys. They're literally
right.
Just
no,
keys.
The keys are all keys, and the doors are all doors.
Yeah,
but that is how they onion. They open up the onion layers to you with those exits. So it is kind of a unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a UX thing that they could have done better. Hopefully, the new remake does it better. But those icons shouldn't be on the map until you actually have the key to go through them. So I've gone to doors before where it's like, oh, I can't. It's on the map, but I can't use it.
Got it.
Because I don't have the keys. So that's anyway, a little bit of a miss there. But yeah, you'll get. I think there's quite a few. So eventually, to your point, it does become what we would call more porous. And you can definitely. But to your point of like, can I make a full loop in the beginning of the game? Yeah, maybe you can't.
You can't take the shortest path anyway. That I can say definitively. So, which would be like you've crossed the courtyard, you go left, and then just try keep going. I guess that would be counterclockwise, and you can't. There's a point where you come up against the door. So, that's what happened to me. I did, however. So one of the things that has shifted is I have done a couple of plays from saves now, because I actually was really happy with my playthrough up to that point. And I had finally figured out Kent, which I think that'll be the next topic. But I did go, I went out once into the courtyard or park or whatever, and ran into the convicts, and they killed me. But I just used the experience to figure out, because I literally had just saved and done one thing, which was figure out Kent, and then, and so I went out and I was like, okay, I don't have any guns. I don't think I can kill these guys. And you can't kill. There's a gunner, like it's this Jeep with a gunner, and 2 convicts in the front seats, and then in the back there's a guy on the gun, and you can't get at him without a pistol or a handgun, I guess they call them. So it's like, okay, well, I learned that, and then I was like, okay, well, where do I find a pistol? So then I was able to kind of work through that and kind of figure it out. So now I'm like on a third, like, okay, now I can do that, and I could save that person.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I'm still going to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I wasn't ready for that. I feel under-leveled, and I'll just start over again. But I'll at least know what I did. I'm building up my run, as we've talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it feels like. And they have put, and we'll talk about this maybe after some of the Kent stuff or whatever. But they put in these sort of, they're not walls per se, but they're definitely like skill check, difficulty check, level checks kind of situation where there's certain, I'm sure there are the Kyles of the world who will do no-hit runs on this game and don't need to really, in fact, just like, what is it, just playing with the level 1 Dark Souls character. I forget the name of that.
Soul level 1.
Soul level 1, yeah, an SL1 run. There's people that play this without leveling as well and speed run through it without getting no hits. But they put things in the game that force you to skill check and level check, and probably possible to do without leveling, but they're intended, I think, to kind of kill you and reset and force you to kind of come back later when you're higher level. And I ran into one of those. So, but you figured it out with the convicts. The convicts, I remember in my back in the day when I played, I don't think I actually dealt with the convicts till pretty late game, till I felt like I was capable. And you definitely found a clever way to do it.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't even really dawn on me. Actually, I might have waited till I think you get a car of your own in that section. I don't remember. There's
so you never saved Sophia or whatever her name is.
Oh, I probably did, but I don't think I did it by taking them out. I probably
interesting.
Just getting her. So my first.
So you went and got her and like brought her out by evading them. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I went across there, I had the 2 guys who had boarded themselves in some room, some shoe store or something. Aaron and Hank, maybe.
Yeah.
And
they're dead.
They're dead for you.
Everybody's dead for me.
Oh, okay. Everybody survived for me so far.
Impressive. Yeah.
Except for the jewelry store lady, who I didn't figure out at first, and now I have to go do her again. I didn't understand
something with her kid, right?
Yeah. Well, so we should talk about the quests, because the quests are very finicky this way. So
it's such a weird way to play for me to play when I don't care about survivors. So we should come back to that too.
Yeah. We can come back to that too. Yeah. So, for me, it's like, well, that's the checklist.
It's intended to be, right?
Yeah. For me, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do the checklist. That's how I play a lot of games. It's the relaxing way for me to play. So, they're giving me a list of tasks to figure out. Well, with Kent, who's really he's maybe the second one that you get just ordering. He might be first or second, I guess, depending on how you play it. But for me, Kent is this photographer who's in the first section of the mall you go to after you go through the warehouse. Mm-hmm. And he's on the second floor. He's a photographer, and you basically find him, and he's like, dude, you messed up my shot or whatever. And he's like, I'll teach you. So he basically teaches you some camera mechanics. He teaches you that you get more points if you're more zoomed in on the subjects. And he basically says you can get it perfect the closer you are, and if the circle's bigger or whatever, things like that. And then he tells you and then there's basically an icon that appears in the world for when it's, prestige point time. If you get this shot, you get a lot of prestige points. And it just basically shows in the world over the character's head or over the event's head, like, take the picture here. And that's cool. And then he's running around. He keeps insulting me when I take pictures of him because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. And ultimately, I think I maybe ultimately just died trying to figure out what to do with Ken, or maybe I finally figured it out and died soon thereafter for something else. But what he was saying in his introduction, so it's like when you first meet him, he's like, "Oh, I'll try to take a picture of my signature pose."
Yeah.
I connected that to the way he would attack the zombies that had the prestige point marker on it, and I got that, and I'm like, well, that's not your signature pose, like. What am I missing? And I spent all this time like running around, like taking pictures of him when he's photographing me, and you start to get diminishing returns if you take the same picture multiple times. So I was losing prestige points. It was like lower and lower. I'm like, well, that's not it. Finally learned you had to recharge the camera. And there's a camera shop right there. So that was convenient. And then in the end, I finally saw him pump his fist, and I'm like, oh my god, I spent all this time trying to figure out what to take a picture of, and it's just this dumb random animation that isn't like, you can't always see it super well, because you're like, especially if you're looking through the viewfinder, you're like, you might lose him and he does it and you never see it, so it just was super finicky. I was just like, just figuring out what to do was finicky, I guess is the point.
Yeah, it's definitely a finicky game. I think in general, it's got a lot of jank to it because I think they didn't have a model to even copy to some degree. So it's like
that's fair.
They're kind of making it up. I'm not defending, not trying to defend them.
Well,
it's like, it's janky to do that kind of stuff.
I get where they're going now, like, because those guys, Hank and Aaron, like one of them was really ticked that I broke their defenses down. I basically picked up all the pieces of stuff and threw it at zombies and then opened it. And like one of the guys is really angry with you and was punching you. And you have to beat him up a bunch till he finally is like, okay, no more. And then you're like, I'm here to take you out of here. When you talk to him. So like that's their like gate. With the Japanese photographers, you have to find a book in the bookstore they're holed up in that is learn Japanese or conversational Japanese or something like that. Easy conversational Japanese or whatever it's called. Otherwise you can't talk to them.
Those are the keys that aren't keys. Yeah.
But they are very finicky and it's not obvious. Like, I was like, this guy's attacking me. I thought it was because when I was breaking this stuff down, I accidentally hit him. And I was like, oh no, NPCs, if you hit them, are going to attack you. Like, I don't have a lot of precision with these weapons. So if I'm there to like, take a zombie off a guy to help him out, I might also hit him and now he's going to attack me. Like, ugh. But it's not that. It was like literally just a scripted bit of like, oh, you broke in. Like I'm going to punch you. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's been.
I think the woman in the jewelry store does a similar thing, right? She grabs you kind of like a zombie.
She's really upset. She didn't even want
she's because she's trying to find her child and she's panicking and
But then you have to finally let her get a hold of herself. You have to talk to her enough that she'll say, actually, my baby was eaten, but whatever, something along those lines. I was like, oh, and that was another thing where I was like, I left her to die once because I was like, okay, well, I don't know what to do for you. Like, I came in there and I don't know what to do for you. And it was like, there was like a timer or something before she'd reset and you could talk to her again. So it just was like, it's that stuff that has been
a custom scripted thing that you have to kind of figure out because there's not a good rule set that they've established for this kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's all,
now that I know it's there,
you'll know there's a thing.
I know there's a thing, right? I always know there's a thing. But figuring out that thing might be annoying, I guess, is the what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating structure, and it's so funny because I'm playing the opposite that I would have normally played. It's such a fascinating structure to have these survivors be, like you said, the checklist and the thing that drives you. They're also very vulnerable characters in the middle of this just chaos. And the zombies are just running by a zombie's terrifying to me because they can grab you, and I don't know, you're always on a razor's edge of something, and then you can't control these survivors and they're following you and you got to protect, it's all this, but just this concept that they're all around and that they decided to put timers on all of them.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird set of design decisions for this game, because it is all very tightly wound and that you need those timers there because of the structure of the game and the replaying and all of that kind of stuff. And then there's, for the completionists like me of the world, I remember the first time, it's like the way you're playing, you really have to like get your run down if you want to get everybody, especially if you're not sure what the trick is. And once you figure the trick out, it's like, okay, I'm going to go back and do it right this time.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just kind of like, it is very much like a no-hit run in a way of like this sort of this memorization and this, or like a speed run. It's like, I messed that one up. Yeah, I got to start over because I didn't do it perfectly.
The other thing that can happen, and this happened with the woman in the jewelry store, is that because you've got, it can sometimes not be something you did. It's just now the situation on the ground is much more difficult because it turns out, for whatever reason, and I have not sort of detected any rules yet, but there are way more zombies here this time, and so I got to that jewelry store and it was just the whole section of that mall, sort of little chunk of like 3 stores or whatever, was just absolutely mobbed. And they were all just pouring in, and like even getting to her, she's like 2 doors down from the workout, the gym, that I was like, like I got out of that, which was really difficult and depleted a lot of my resources to get to here. And now I don't have anything. And I'm just using like the chairs in the back of the store to like try to clear out enough zombies that I can even get, like you can get to her, I guess, because she's kind of in a little cubicle, but like I'm never going to be able to get out if I don't clear out. Like I'll have no room to maneuver. So I have to like keep it clear. And I liked the tension, but the tension increased the frustration because that was the time where I was like, I don't know what this lady wants. I finally cleared enough zombies that I can get out of here. I guess I will, because I don't know what else to do. So, I don't hate it. It's just like there's this tension that increased the frustration for me there. Like if I'd had enough time to sort of think through and be like, to sort of like, cause she would have been like my third person, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm getting it. But because I was under this pressure of like, oh my God, there's so many zombies coming in here, it just became a point of frustration. But I don't think I'll have a lot of that going forward, because it's like, well, now I know, and I can figure that stuff out.
Well, we talk the other, to kind of to that point, it's making me think the other topic that always comes up with this game is the save system. Not just that it has location-based saves like Resident Evil, but also the replaying of the days and keeping your RPG stats. But it's like the tension you're feeling and the frustration, like, and I guess maybe there was some RNG there because of the zombies that were spawned. Yeah. I don't know if that was motivated by something. Was it at night maybe? And there's more.
It might be. I don't remember.
Because at night
there's been like 20 runs now, Tim.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it doesn't matter. But the point is that, that, and that's why I always was a defender of this game, because this is there's definitely modern games that have approached this now because of technology and stuff. So people have gotten better, but at this time there was no better game at simulating the concept and the paranoia and the fear of a horde of zombies, where you have to, like you said, I'm backed into the corner of this jewelry store. All I have are chairs, or anything
and like a cash register or something.
Yeah, I mean those are scenes from Walking Dead, right? Like that stuff happens and people die, and
in real life.
You need that tension, and there needs to be times when you lose survivors.
Yeah.
You can't just save the game right there and then just save scum it and try it over and over again, right? You need that separation because the tension wouldn't be there. Same thing for Resident Evil, but on a lesser scale, I would say.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a definite player fantasy here. Of like, I want to play a zombie horde movie, right?
Yeah, where things
there wouldn't have been The Walking Dead, but something equivalent, like as we said.
And where things get bad, right? You need the whole game doesn't work if you aren't failing sometimes, and losing survivors. And we talked about even in the beginning of the game, that first scene where they break through the doors, and you just see the list of people dying.
Yeah.
And it's just very starkly representative, like, oh, this is what it means when survivors die. And then that occasional time when that happens to you later in the game, when you've tried to get somebody and you didn't get there in time. And then the other side of it, which I just think is such a weirdly brilliant choice because of the whole structure of this game, you get that red message. It's very like gut wrenching if you really were trying hard to get somebody, or to your point, there's frustration involved too, because it's not a perfect game. But then the time you do save that survivor on that one run and you get them back, I have never felt that kind of satisfaction and like, for a quest like that in many other games, because so often you're either save scumming or they've, as you would say, sanded it down so much that, because escort missions are notoriously frustrating to people because you can't control the AI.
Right.
So there's a lot of different
which was
reasons.
where I was going to go next.
yeah, and you should go there for sure. But the one defense I will still have for the point you're about to make before you make it is that, again, because it's a zombie horde based game, fantasy fulfillment based game, people panic. People are dumb. It's like, obviously we don't know what it's really like in a zombie horde situation. But again, watch The Walking Dead. There are a lot of them where they think they have it, right? And they call it the herd in that franchise, but they think they have it under control. And then in a split second, it is not in control. And somebody gets pulled into the horde, you know what I mean? So it's like, even the smartest characters, that's kind of the whole thing about that show and that comic is like, pretty much everyone's going to die at some point. It's just a matter of when, like even the main characters. So,
right. Well, because they are The Walking Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing that Tim was alluding to is that one of the things that I think that I find myself fighting a lot is that the NPC pathing seems quite bad. They can't do all the things you can do, first of all. So something that you can climb that you would expect they would just climb up right behind you, in a real zombie situation. They don't, right? So I'm thinking in particular with those two guys from the shoe store, like I'm taking them back through the food court, and like as soon as you enter the food court, you can sort of go immediately to the right and climb up into an area that the zombies don't tend to go. I don't know if zombies can't do stairs like Daleks or something, but so you can get up, so you can get up there really easily as Frank. It's also a good place to go because there's usually wine bottles and those fully fill up your health and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, great place to go. But they won't climb over the wall like you can. They have to go up the stairs. So that's just like, like these are young athletic guys. Frank's a like, New Jersey, gorilla. He doesn't look like he should be able to climb up over that thing. He looks kind of heavyset.
His animation's great too. He does run like a gorilla.
He does. I mean, he's got this frenzied arm thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's just he kind of lopes around. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so often what will happen is, and what happened in my most recent failure to save Sophia, who's the one who's being chased by the convicts, is that I will clear a path of zombies and be like, okay, now follow me. I've just opened up this huge hole. Just follow me. And I'll run through that big hole I just opened up. And they'll kind of like decide they want to go some other way. And I'll just be like, what are you doing? Like, you're not keeping, some of them are slower. That's fine. Like, okay. Like, I like that variability. Don't hate it. But like the choices that the pathing makes and the things that they can't do, it feels like it is really cool to get one of them back, but I don't feel like it's really cool to overcome a shortcoming.
The game's fighting you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you using the follow me command thing?
Yeah, that triangle. You can, or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's square,
the Y button for you.
Yeah. Oh, really interesting. Yeah, I actually had to stop using the controller on the PC. I'm playing on PC.
Yeah,
because the port is actually terrible for controls. So all the QTEs, I actually didn't. It just puts up maybe a PSA for people who are thinking about playing it. You know, if you want to play with the controller, don't play on the PC.
It's probably not customized for more modern controllers.
No, definitely not. I'm sure
that's probably the problem, right? Yeah.
Remake is probably
the
done
deluxe
so.
remaster,
but that's like $60. Yeah. But it's just like they just have assigned numbers to each of the buttons. So it says button 4 comes up, and I'm like, I have no idea what button 4 is, you know, and so then I'm dead. So anyway, I switched to PC, and all the key bindings are fine there. But the reason I bring it up is, I forget why.
Okay,
never mind. Yeah, so no, we were just talking about the key mappings.
You can also direct them to go to a place, supposedly. Like you can sort of point to a place and tell them go there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't saved anybody yet.
That's a 2-button combo. Yeah, you're not focusing on that. So,
well, it's going to probably bite me because you do get a lot of PP from that process, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's sort of the way the level progression was balanced, was really ensuring that you have saved a certain percentage. I could be wrong on that, but of course you can grind in other ways. But I have yet to restart. So I just want to see what happens. You know what I mean? I just want, if I use the save spot.
What happens is you get killed by a killer clown.
Yeah. Good segue. Yeah, exactly. And I am going to try some more tactics with the clown. So to set that up, the convicts are considered in this category too, but there's at least 10, because I know I got the achievement for that originally, but there's got to be more that I didn't get. So let's say there's 15 or something. But throughout the story and throughout the, some of the quests that you will get will look like they might be a survivor quest, or they're presented in the same way, but they actually might be a psychopath. And so they're basically bosses. They're the way that they did bosses. And
the first one is Carlito, basically.
Yeah, he is considered one. Yeah, but he's a little
different. It seems
he will become different because he's part of the main story. Yeah. But he is originally considered that. So they do present you with that concept of that boss. Yeah, with him. In fact, I think you might fight him multiple times too. But he's also part of the whole story. And it is such a Capcom zombie story. Like at least one, even though this isn't Resident Evil and this isn't who's the Resident Evil guy?
Mikami.
Even though this isn't Mikami, like he and Inafune must have talked about the kinds of tropes that
Inafune directed like a Resident Evil 4 port or remaster or something at some point.
So anyway, so he learned from those sort of tropes there, so it gets wacky later. Anyway,
I remember the clown. So
the clown. So the clown. I think the quest.
That's where I stopped.
Out of control. Yeah,
it's the space roller coaster or whatever it's called.
Yep. He's sabotaged it basically, and you go try to fix it, and then he shows up. And he's juggling chainsaws. Great, like memorable. Yeah, exactly. Great, memorable clown character, and it becomes a very big trope for the whole series. Obviously, so 2 and 3 and 4 they amp them up even more so, and they have even crazier ones. But anyway,
likes, killer clown.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one to start with. or want to have be an early one. But anyway, long story short on those, it's like that is it's sort of an example of a bit of a wall mission if you consider it something that you want to do. I mean, he one-shotted me as soon as I started fighting him. Yeah. And I think I'm only maybe level 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm like level 15 or 16.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be the downside, right? Like I mean, I'm sure you, as often as is always the case, you've probably played more than I have, but also leveling up is few and far between for me the way I'm playing.
Yeah.
Because I have to really try to get my XP. Photography is kind of my best way to do it. And I probably, to be honest, should focus on that more. But so my health pips I don't have very many of them. So and I think I hit him with a katana a couple times, and his health bar did not go down very much. So it did feel like a Dark Souls boss in a way. And I'm sure you can dodge him somewhat and stuff, but he's very fast and it's kind of ridiculous. But and then
I do remember being extremely frustrated by him, and of course that's where I stopped playing. So
yeah, you can get, and I did carry around my own chainsaw for a while. That is one good way to get him to a tactic. But again, you just can't. If you play the way I'm playing, I'm worried that we've talked about wall missions before, and it's not really a wall mission because I don't think you have to do it. But I can't remember. Obviously, you'll get a lot of XP from it, but I feel like you get something else from the psychopaths when you take them out. It might be, I just remember what it is. Oh, crap. I really have to take him out.
Oh, yeah.
I really want.
I didn't get much of anything from the convicts.
Did there...
I mean, I could have used their gun on the Jeep.
Yeah.
Maybe I could drive the car.
Yeah.
I didn't even try it.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to ask you if the car persisted or not.
I mean, the car stuck around. I mean, their bodies were all hanging all over it. And I didn't see an interact prompt.
Well,
I saw an interact prompt for the gun, like from a distance. So I was like, oh, I could just hop up there and like mow down a bunch of zombies. I was like, well, I really want to just go save the survivor. I don't know if it would stay because I died getting her back. I don't know if the car would be there when I went back out.
Yeah, that one is a good one. I don't know either. That's what I was going to ask you, if the car persists, because I think in that case it's probably the Jeep and the gun is what your kind of reward is, which, and to spoil the clown, it's like, it's not actually that amazing, but it is.
You get a red rubber nose.
No, you get his chainsaw.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is I believe there's something special about it that makes it a way better chainsaw than regular chainsaws.
It doesn't run out of gas, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't run out of gas.
It's an electric chainsaw that you can recharge at the camera station.
Well, you might be able to actually dual wield it. There's something
you can cut off your hand and attach it.
Oh, nice.
And say, give me some sugar, baby.
Well done. Yeah, so I don't think it's a dual wield because he does dual wield them, but the reason that I just had that minor revelation from deep in my memory is that part of my original run was getting I don't remember how you get his chainsaw after you take him out, if it's just in a certain place or whatever, but every time I restarted, I had to get that chainsaw because it was like really badass. So it's like it's got like a light blue color versus the orange of the regular ones. So yeah, there's an incentive, and I think that probably is what that's the case for all of them. You probably get a really good weapon from each of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's very in keeping with this style of. I mean, This is the MegaMan guy, right?
Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh my god, that is so. What is this? Wait, this game is just MegaMan. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Oh my god, yeah, on multiple layers that I just had never thought about until we started talking about this game. Yeah. So funny. Funny.
It is wild. I mean, it's funny because there are not a lot of creators that we've played multiple games from, and it's something we should probably actively take a look at, to go back through what we've played and just like, think about whether we want to to look at some places where some people went.
Yeah, that's a good. I think that's a good thread. That's a good thread. Yeah, we've had some we played enough immersive sim games that there's sort of there's team members that worked on multiple games.
Yeah, there's
there,
a cadre
that we haven't.
Yeah, for sure.
That we haven't.
That's a whole industry segment.
But I just mean even.
I just remembered too. The first game from Ralph Colantonio was Arx Fatalis, and not what I said last week. I said some other one last week, and now I can't even remember what I said. But there you go.
Oh, I don't remember what you're. How did that come up?
We must have been talking about. I mentioned Prey for some reason.
Last week?
Maybe it wasn't last week. It was recently, but maybe it wasn't last week.
Oh, I mean, you're the one to believe over me if it happened.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
but I don't remember why it came up, but it was because we were talking about Deathloop.
Yeah.
Because it was similar to this, and anyway, so that's how that came up. But I was thinking Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, so maybe I talked about it in connection with that. I don't remember why.
Yeah, because that was Arcane.
Yeah.
So the Arcane connection there. So it's just I don't know. I don't know. I can probably predict now that I probably won't be able to finish. I won't have time, but also don't feel the need to technically finish this game.
Yeah.
The last quarter. I mean, I have finished it in the past, but the last quarter. I mean, I'll just say it takes some pages from Resident Evil. There's always that fork in the road, or not fork in the road, but there's always that that sharp left turn that Resident Evil games take in their last quarter, where it's it gets super weird. But I think the one thing I will say is that they're already threading in some of the story stuff that, the mystery's already there. They've introduced the doctor guy or
the professor or whatever.
The professor, the queen bees is what is that about? There's all these weird.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
that intro was really good. Although at the time I had survivors with me, so I was like, "Oh no, is this gonna am I gonna lose? Am I gonna lose them?" I didn't know what was gonna happen. Instead, I got 2 bees, which were super helpful in taking out the convicts because I could clear the room of zombies.
Yeah.
Although it also leaves behind a weird, glowworm thing that leaps at you once you
can. Yeah, you can step on them and you just run around and.
Yeah, but I didn't know that, and I'm like, "What's going on?" I was being attacked by this bug, so it was very, very funny.
You just can't win.
There's just a lot of comic stuff like that. He's definitely a Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China. Jack Burton. He's like that, right? And he's just kind of a slimy guy.
Oh yeah, he's the worst.
Very self-confident, and he's getting into everything is trouble. Everything that happens is oh no, and this too.
Just can't win. Yeah. It's very. I mean, as far as the genre goes, especially from its inspiration from film, I think that. I mean, he is a problematic character, as is kind of famous for that problem. And apparently, in the remaster, they attempted to fix some of the stuff because there's definitely some sexism that's pretty rough.
I mean, I've already seen that happen.
Even some of the mechanics, right? Because one of the PPs you get is erotica. They call it erotica, but really it just should be called sexism or misogyny. But the thing about him, and this might be a little bit of a commentary on sometimes the generalization about the gaming audience, but the second, so number 2 had a different new character, number 3 had a new character, and then with 4 they brought Frank back. And the thing is even though he is the character he is, I think the reason I'm bringing it up is that if he weren't so problematic, they have a memorable character here that I think people had some resonance with, and it hopefully isn't because he's so problematic.
Yeah,
but he's like you said, he's that.
It's because he's from Jersey.
Yeah, it's that he's just that cocky, the New Jersey whatever. I think Kurt Russell's a good example, right? Kurt Russell was always riding that line.
Yeah, he had a lot of roles like that. I mean, he's also like Brendan Fraser is in The Mummy. He's he's
yeah.
not Indiana Jones, but he's in that lineage, right? I mean, Indiana Jones is way more heroic, and his motives
Yeah,
are way more heroic.
he's the a-hole that you love to hate kind of thing,
Yeah,
right? But also very memorable. So, and I
Fame and
think
glory, kid. Fame and glory.
yeah, and they kind of watered down the characters in 2 and 3 quite a bit. And to be honest, I can't even remember their names. Those games are better, but the story's not. So I just think this game is such a I've said it multiple times, but it's such a tight package. Like it's because it's so focused, and they gave themselves so many good constraints, but also took some big risks on how to structure the game. And then you have that story and character stuff on top of it. The Capcom kind of milieu, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a really weird, interesting recipe that has always stuck with me.
Well, next time we will put that recipe in the blender, and we'll talk about this some more. But I thought we would try to keep it to the tight 60 this week, and so just turn straight to email. These are sent to devgameclub@gmail.com. I don't think we got a review this week. I didn't check today, but I generally check it every day, so I'm sure I didn't miss anything. So go ahead and shoot us that first one, sir. That only one, the sole email this week.
All right. Subject: Dead Rising, from Ben from Iowa and from Dragoon Effect. Great first episode, gentlemen. Dead Rising is a game I loved even when I couldn't read the text on my CRT. Yeah, that was a big controversy. I just wanted to make a couple quick points. Number one, Xbox Live Arcade games had 200 achievement points, but could also be increased by DLC. Thank you for that. Number two, there is an achievement in Dead Rising for killing 53,594 zombies in one playthrough, which was the actual population of Willamette, Colorado at the time. This achievement was pretty easy by using cars in the tunnels and would increase your level for the next playthrough, as well as unlocking MegaMan's Mega Buster for future playthroughs. Oh, that's right. The only other game I can recall achievements actually having an impact on future playthroughs is Mass Effect 1. Yeah, and that became, I think, a verboten thing to do, if I'm using that word right. They were still dabbling with unlocking gameplay via achievements, but it ended up, I don't know if it ended up becoming a PRC or what it was, but it's not very common anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, although it still does at times. I was playing...
Oh, it still happens for sure, but it's like...
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think it was, had a crossover with another game.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And usually it's cosmetic. I think
it was even a Final Fantasy. It might have been Final Fantasy, the one with the king and the cars and all that.
15.
15.
Our audience just did a whole podcast about that.
Yeah, I can never remember the numbers, for the other ones. Yeah. After a certain point, it's like
they all blend together. Yeah.
It's because there's ones I don't play because they're the MMOs. I guess that's 14. 11 and 14 must be the MMOs.
They are.
Yeah. So I'm always like, is it 14 or is it 15? But anyway, so I think it was a crossover with that. And, for me, it's like, well, you're doing the thing. Like, regardless, like the achievement doesn't unlock it. Like the achievement, you get the achievement for doing the thing, and you also get this other thing for doing the thing. To me, that's not, like, those are unrelated issues. Like, if you didn't get an achievement and you got the Mega Buster, that'd be like a cool secret, or whatever.
I think it's a philosophical kind of thing. I mean, I agree. There is no reason to have a rule like that. I think for me, being somebody who has had to design those achievements in the past and or sign off on them or whatever, or produce some sort of like goal for how we're going to approach achievements. Because I mean, for me at least, I like to think through like what should the structure be? You know what I mean? It's not just a laundry list. Like, can we have a thrust to it? I think because achievements are system level, I kind of put them in a different bucket than if I want them to get a really cool sword. I'm just making up something, right? But if there's a really cool item in the game that has some sort of like meaning to it. And maybe Mega Man's Mega Blaster is not that, right? Because it's not Mega Man. But I think, then put it into a quest chain in the game that makes it more connected to the game versus something that's like a system level thing. But it's splitting hairs, right? It's
killing the same number of zombies as live in Willamette or whatever. To me, is like that seems like a thing you could just suss out. I mean, I don't know what the thing is. Who knows what the population is of some random, town, small city, whatever in Colorado, but I don't know. So I can see it from multiple angles, but
that achievement I think is revealed anyway. I don't think it's a hidden one.
Even hidden ones are revealed. These you just go and hit a button.
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I don't even interface with them very much anymore, so I didn't know that. But
because you're on Steam, and
but they list
a different thing.
Yeah.
It's all.
Steam does hide them too, but I was just looking up this game's achievements on the Xbox app before we started, and it does share this one. In fact, I tried to get it in my first playthrough, and I did exactly what he said. I was in a car for hours. It felt just in the tunnels, in the eventually you get to the parking garage, and it's full of zombies, and you can see where this is going, and you're just running them over. But I didn't get to it. I mean, it sounds like not a big possible number, but I didn't put enough time into it.
There was a similar one in the first Ratchet and Clank, or the first Ratchet and Clank that has. It might have been the remake. I can't remember. Maybe the first Ratchet and Clank that had actual trophies. So that might have been like 4 or whatever. But there was, it was nobody knew what to do for trophies yet, and there was one which was like get, whatever, 1 million or 10 million or 100 million bolts.
Yeah,
and you're running around. And in a level, you might get 25,000 bolts. And so you're like a million or 100 million or whatever it was. And I went and looked it up because I was like, well, I'm not going to, it was like the last thing I had to do. And what people recommended was, okay, go to this spot in this tunnel.
Yeah.
And
put a rubber band on your controller.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, on your controller, do this. And I don't remember why. It was just it was basically just a glitch. Like something was happening off screen, above you in the tunnel, somewhere else, and you were just getting the drops. And it took like 12 hours. I just left the PS2 running for 12 hours, and I would go and check every few hours.
Oh, you actually did it. I know you've told me this story. I just forgot.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
I will do the work. Anyway, that email was sent to Deb.
Well, I'm not done. I have one more thing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No.
2B.
So right.
Number 1, number 2, and number 2B. Fun fact, in the deluxe remaster in 2024, which is one just came out, they made the achievement accumulative across all playthroughs, which is brilliant for that one in particular, because you want more. Also, the reason I looked it up, the Xbox app, when I saw that this email came in before we started, was I wanted to see the percentages. And I think this one is 1 point something in the original game. Yeah. 1 point something percent.
Extremely rare.
Yeah. So, it's like, it's good to have rare ones, but also, especially because this unlocks, I assume in the remaster, deluxe remaster, it also does the same unlock. Because it unlocks that in particular. Because I think you can get the Mega Man costume for the most part, or pieces of it or something, but then you don't have the blaster. So it's you're like
just running around looking like a dork.
Yeah, you're
or
just
super
Mega Man
cool,
with
depending on your
baseball bat. Yeah. So anyway, I also think the Mega Blaster is obviously pretty powerful. So, there's thanks Ben from Iowa and from Dragoon Effect.
Yeah, I think that's his audio only Let's Play podcast.
Okay, all right, right on. Dragon.
Anyway, yep. Thanks for sending that to debgameclub@gmail.com. We also love to get your reviews, as I was about to mention before I was rudely interrupted for being rudely interrupting. And will get them if they go to the Apple infrastructure. I say this every week. I'm just going to skip over it this week. You can find us on the web at devgameclub.com. You can find my co-host twitching at twitch.tv/
Tim Longo Jr. with the JR at the end.
And I'm hoping we'll see some of that this week.
Yeah, I think so. I think that should happen.
Okay, well, when you get that go live notification, you can either get it by subscribing to him on Twitch, or you can check it out in our Discord, where we have a helpful bot, that we had absolutely nothing to do with, but that will tell you when the hosts go live on Twitch. Our intro and outro music was written and performed by Kirk Hamilton, commissioned by friend of the cast Aaron Evers, and our logo, that Discord, those bots, our merch store, all by Mark Garcia. Have fun tending to your bees this week, and good night.
Good night.